up, guys? Welcome to local band Smokeout. Any genre from anywhere in the entire world. I do reactions, reviews, and interviews with bands. I want to hear your music. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Holden Foghat!
Yeah, hell yeah!
Yes, sir! First of all, it is an absolute honor. I appreciate you for taking the time to do this, sir. Man, what an absolute legend. Before I dive into all the Foghat questions I have for you, I want to start from the beginning and know that how you got to work with Buddy Guy.
Well, my dad made that happen. I just started playing guitar, and I fell in love with the blues. And so my dad, who was always real supportive of me, he was living down in Florida, and Buddy Guy and Junior Wells were coming on tour down there. He knew I loved the blues. He said, "Have you ever heard of Buddy Guy?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, he's playing down here. Why don't you come down and we'll go see the show?" And then, unbeknownst to me, he tracked Buddy down in Chicago, found his home phone number, called him, and said, "Hey, I got a son that wants to learn how to play guitar. Could he meet you?" And Buddy said, "Sure." And so that started the whole thing. I went and met him at the show. He invited me to his hotel the next day.
How old are you at the time? I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Probably, no, I'm 18, 19 at that point. And he invited me to his hotel the next day and gave me a guitar lesson. We spent about 4 hours playing guitar. And I kept in touch with him for about the next year. And then he contacted me one day and said, "Look, I'm getting ready to make a change in my band. Would you like to join the band?" And I was, "Sure." And so for the next 10 years, I was getting, a college education in learning how to be a blues man.
That is amazing. Was your dad a touring musician as well? Or he's just really good at finding and tracking down people, and if it's a family involved.
My dad was a brilliant man. He was a really smart guy, but he loved his kids. And so he would, if you said, "Hey man, I want to be a fireman," he would figure out a way to get you a fire truck. So he was just very supportive. Both my parents were very supportive. The entire time I was coming up, and I started playing guitar late. Like I said, I was 19 when I started, and but I fell in love with it so fully that it consumed me. That's all I wanted to do.
How does that then lead to you meeting Roger, and then Roger coming to the decision that you need to take over as far as frontman, lead guitar? How does that connection then lead together?
Well, what happened was Roger and I met back in 2014. We had a mutual friend who hooked us up, and basically we just started writing songs together. And I was kind of helping him out in the studio, recording and stuff, and just hit it off. I mean, Roger and I have always just had a real connection at a fundamental level. I mean, we both love the same kinds of music, and we both love music, and we're passionate about it. We love to play. We both make the same joke. The playing, when we're on the road, the gig we do for free. It's the travel that they're paying us for. So we just hit it off, and we always were trying to figure out a way to work together, but there was no room in the band for me. I mean, it's a 4-piece band, and they had 4 pieces. So we put together Earl and the Agitators, and we tried to do that, and the mechanics of that wouldn't work because it was, we would open shows for Foghat, and 3/4 of Foghat would play the opening, and then, Charlie would come out and sing, and so Roger and the guys were playing like these 4-hour shows, so that didn't work. And we didn't do very many shows without Foghat, so it was just kind of a thing where we really loved each other. We loved working together, but we just couldn't figure out how to make it work. And then I was down in Florida at their studio. We're working on what became Sonic Mojo. At the time, it was just the next record, and we were writing songs and we were doing stuff. And I went for a walk one morning and I came back and Roger's sitting outside and he goes, I want to talk to you. And we never had that kind of a
You
relation. There
knew it
was
was
never that
coming.
kind of
The way
conversation.
he like prepped it, you knew
Something was weird. I knew that I was either about to be asked to leave or something was going to happen. So I sat down and he goes, Charlie just sent me an email and he's retiring. Do you want to join the band? And I said, yes. And he said, do you need to call your wife or talk to her? And I said, no, because my wife, Buffy, and I, we had talked about it, from the beginning. It was like, man, I wish I could be in this band and I wish we could work together and blah, blah, blah. So I knew she was on my side, period. Um, but it was just, it just worked out and it happened. And then, we pivoted from working on the new record, to learning the songs for the set because they had shows coming up in like 2 weeks. And I hadn't played a Foghat song in over a year because I wasn't even, I had my solo career going. I was doing stuff on my own. I knew, I had worked with Foghat before, but I wasn't, focused on those songs. And the way they do their songs is there's a very structured element to it. It's the arrangements are definite. And I didn't come from that school. I came from a real improv school,
Mhm.
and so there was a hard learning curve for me to figure out um, how to you know at this point in the song, this 8 bars you have to play this, and I'm like, well, what if I do this? No, you have to do this for 8 bars. I'm like, okay. So we figured it out. And I've been in the band 3 years now. It's taken me 3 years. I'm more comfortable today than I was when I started, but I need about another probably 8, 10 years, and then I'll be relaxed.
8 to 10 more. That's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, man, I'm learning every day. And I still make mistakes, and they still watch me. In the early days, Brian would kind of give me this look, like almost willing me to know what I was supposed to be doing, and he still gives me the look, but I make fewer mistakes today than I did when I started, so that's a good thing.
When planning for this, I love the fact that you guys have like a really cool promo section on the Foghat website for people that want to interview and talk to the band to give like tips and stuff for us. But one of the things I saw on that I've never seen before is your guys' full rider for when you play shows, like the requirements that you need, even down to like the food and drinks and stuff. How
I
does
didn't
it?
know that was on there.
Yeah, that is on there, just so you know. So
I gotta go check that out. I
yeah.
didn't know it.
Well, my question was going to be like, what is it like one of the first experiences when you were playing with them a couple years back, and all of a sudden, like the luxury lifestyle backstage of all these things to make sure you're so comfortable, as compared to, I imagine, like only a hotel stay and a voucher or something. Not to be disrespectful, but in you kind of know what I'm saying when I ask that.
I know exactly what you're saying. And
Okay.
and here's the funny thing. I started out with Buddy Guy, and when I started with Buddy, we were in a van, and all the gear was in the back of the van, and that's how we traveled. We stayed in motels, and Buddy would do some of the driving, but he had a guy that drove for him. So we started that way. And as things escalated with Buddy's career, we graduated to the tour bus, and things got better, and we stayed in better hotels. We stayed in hotels instead of motels, and the pay got better, and the food got better, and everything got better. The crowds were bigger. And then I left Buddy and went to my solo career, which was starting back over. I was back in a van. I'm staying at motels, not hotels. It's frozen pizza and move the pool table out of the way to set the stage up. I went right back to the gritty beginning and spent the next 10, 15 years doing that, building that up. And so I've played everything from a pool hall and a pizza joint to you know, Hammersmith Odeon in London, and so I know the difference. I played the Rose Bowl with the Rolling Stones, and I've played a closet in Athens, Alabama. So I get it, and the funny thing is, my guitar sounded the same in both places. I played the same licks. We sang the same songs. it's just it's the perception, it's the show business perception of it that makes it different. When I got in this band, the first thing that I was really grateful for was I had spent the last 15 years being the leader and having to figure out everything, how to get us from A to B, who's going to go with us, how am I going to pay them? If there's a flat, I've got to pay for it. If the van breaks down, I've got to figure out how to get us to the next location. Um, and then I got in a situation where now I can just, my job is to sing and play guitar, and nobody really asks much more of me than that, and I'm grateful for that. Um, but you know, I mean, it's the business we got into. It's show business. I love it. I'll do it till the day I die at whatever level, you know, because it's just what I want to do.
When you were writing and working on Sonic Mojo, was that when like a different kind of nerves kicked in? That's the first time that you have input on creativity for Foghat.
The studio's always been, I've always been really comfortable in the studio, and songwriting for me is not necessarily easy, but it's something that I understand, and it's natural to me. I don't worry about that as much. My biggest fears and concerns coming into this were more the live situation, being able to present what I knew for Foghat was going to be an exacting sort of presentation. I mean, it's a high level, you know, it comes out a certain way, and Roger's real, you know, intent on making sure that we always come at a pro level. There's nothing, you know, goofy about it. And for me, that was more nerve wracking because I didn't want to let him down. You know, the thing was, I'm an entertainer. And I've made a fool of myself on stages for years and years and years. So you can't really embarrass me, but I don't want to let somebody else down. I don't want to let Roger down. I don't want to let Rodney or Brian down. Um, and so you know, the live thing, the intensity, but in the studio, you know, that's free form. That's where you're creating it. You're making it up as you go along. You know, you're my idea and your idea, and let's figure out what we like best and what sounds the best. And I love that. I love the creative component of that. It's funny today. I'm a couple of days ago, I started writing the new album in my head, and I can see it. I haven't even told the guys about this yet, but I can kind of see it coming together. And of course, you know, when I present it to them, they're probably going to go, "No, I don't like that." but you know, right now, the new record is in my head, and it's awesome.
When I was jamming Sonic Mojo, like a particular song stood out to me, which is Mean Woman Blues. Like I feel like having the Buddy Guy history and your blues history, like it really comes out on that particular track on Sonic Mojo.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, I heard. Thank you for saying that. I heard that track for the first time. Uh, Elvis did it back in the '50s, and then I heard Jerry Lee Lewis's version of it. And so when Roger and I were talking about putting the new record together, and we were talking about some cover tunes and things we'd like to try, he said, "Yeah, I'm thinking about Mean Woman Blues," and I was like, "Yeah, I love that song." And he goes, "I was thinking about doing it like a Latin thing," and I went, "Huh." You know, because that was like a complete left turn from
Right.
the way I knew it, you know. And so I'm like, okay, you know, anytime he suggests something, my first response might be, huh, but the second one is always, okay, let's try it, because you never know. And with that song in particular, I wouldn't have thought of that. I wouldn't have done it that way. But as we were working through it and as it was starting to come together, I was like, yeah, this is cool. It's not like anybody else's version, and it's going to be something that stands out. And when you look back at Foghat's catalog, all the cover tunes that they've done throughout their history are different from the originals. Like I Just Want to Make Love to You doesn't sound anything like Muddy Waters' version of that song, but it's its own thing. So I got that, you know, from Roger. I've learned. I'm grateful that I've had such good teachers in my life, and Roger's one of them. You know, I consider him one of my best friends, but at the same time, he's also a teacher for me. I mean, I've learned so much from being with him and working with him and just hanging out with him, you know. So it's been a great trip so far.
That is awesome. I know we had talked off camera about the trivia part of the show. I always like to do like a small trivia section. You got to pick, and you picked Spinal Tap. So my
And
job.
why I picked it, I have no idea. I was trying to order Chipotle for my daughter for lunch at the same time, so I was like, I don't know, it was Spinal Tap.
Let's see if I can stump you here on one or two questions. It's all out of fun though. But in the movie Spinal Tap, do you recall what the
Yes.
band's original name was?
Oh no.
I've actually given you a hint already without you realizing it.
Think about what you just said. I have no idea. You beat me. What is it?
They were called the Originals.
The Timsmen. Oh, the Originals.
The Originals is
and then
the
and
answer.
then they changed to the Tinsmen or the Timsmen
and
or
then,
something.
And then I think Spinal Tap might have
Well,
been.
actually, they were the Originals, and then there was another band called the Originals, so they had to change their name to the New Originals.
So you have
See,
seen
I
it.
have seen the
You've
movie.
definitely seen it a
I
bunch
have
of times.
seen the film. Yeah.
Let me try one more. One more. In the movie, do you
right.
recall the first song Nigel and David wrote?
Yes, it's oh crap. It sounded like a Beatles song. Is a dun 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 dun. Well, I'm waiting on baby. And I can't remember the words to it. So no, I don't know.
I'll give it to you though. I'll give it to you. That's not bad. I'm gonna give it to you. If you can hum it out like that, I'm gonna give it to you.
This is terrible.
What song in Foghat's catalog? I imagine the answer is probably Slow Ride, but maybe it's not. What is the most fun song to play live and why?
You know, it's funny. My daughter and I were talking about this the other day because she was asking me. She said, are there any songs that you get tired of playing?" And I was like, "No, not really. I mean, I'm having the time of my life in this band. They're all fun for different things. Obviously, Slow Ride, the audience goes crazy. They're waiting for that, you know, and it's such an iconic song. It's a soundtrack to a lot of our youths. So that one's always fun to play just to watch the reaction of the crowd. But they all have a special thing for me. I mean, this year we're opening with Chateau Lafitte, which is just a great rockin' boogie song right out of the gate. We go right from that into My Babe, which is got these vocal harmonies that the three of us or the four of us. I mean, our percussionist and drum tech Eddie LaFave is singing on that too, and they sound great. And there's not a song. I mean, the only songs that I don't like playing are the ones that Rodney sings. No, I'm kidding. I hope Rodney doesn't see this. No, but they're all fun. I mean, it's just great rock and roll, and we get to play loud guitars and run around and scream and holler a bunch, and it's fun.
That is awesome. Do you have any unusual or interesting vocal techniques that you do prior to the show, and or anything that you do to cool your voice down afterwards to be ready, hypothetically, for like a back-to-back night?
Yeah, when I started with the band, Dave's voice is higher than my range. His level of range of singing is higher than mine, and so a lot of these songs are right at the top of my range, you know, and people can tell that some nights when I'm squeaking. But I've got a friend who's a vocal coach, and I went to her immediately, and I was like, "Look, I don't know what to do because these songs are high, and I'm not, you know." So she helped me and gave me some exercises to do. I don't drink hot drinks or cold drinks before we play. Everything's got to be room temperature, which makes me sound like I'm real fancy, you know, because they always have to bring
Whatever
me my room
works. I mean,
temperature
if it
water.
works, it works.
Yeah, I know, but it makes me sound like I'm just so, oh well, I have to. But you know, they make sure that I got that, and then you know, I do some vocal exercises and stuff, and pretty much drive everybody else crazy. So I try to get out in the hallway or go somewhere else in the building to do it, so I'm not annoying everybody. And then just make sure that you know, everything's working and everything's there. And then after the show, it's just, you know, that's relaxation time. We're coming down. Everything's, you know, a lot of times we do a signing after the show. We'll go out to the merch table and meet with the fans and sign stuff. So there's not a lot of, when we do that, there's not a lot of relaxation because you got to go out there and now you got to interact with folks, and which I love that. I love the fact that we get to meet the fans, um, and just hearing their stories and hearing how that's another thing. Foghat fans are some of the best fans I've ever been around, and the way this band has affected them and impacted them um, is just tremendous. I mean, you talk to guys that were in the military that were listening to Foghat because it reminded them of home. You got kids that are there with their grandparents that are hearing it for the first time, and it's tremendous. And this kid learned us from Guitar Hero. This person heard it on the Top Gun soundtrack. So um, it's uh it's just a real humbling thing to be a part of this legacy.
Do you recall the first time that you heard "Fool in the City"? And
Yes, I do. I do. I was
"Fool for the City"? Excuse me.
at one point, Roger called me up, and this was early. We hadn't known each other long. Maybe we'd only met, but he calls me up, and the plan was I was going to go down to their studio in Florida, and I don't know what it was. They were looking for somebody to be a stand-in for Charlie if he couldn't make a gig, or something was happening. But they were looking for somebody that could sing. And he said, "Well, learn these songs." And my knowledge of Foghat at that point, I knew Slow Ride, and that was kind of it. I mean, I had heard some of the songs, on the periphery, but I wasn't like religious on it. So I had to dig deep and get these songs under my fingers. And "Fool for the City" was one of them. And I went down to Florida to the studio, and it was me and Roger and Craig McGregor and Brian Bassett, and we played all Foghat. So we did "Slow Ride," we did "Fool for the City," we did "I Just Want to Make Love to You." We did all of them, and I was just proud to be able to hang on. I was lucky to be there, and that's kind of how my whole career's been. I've just been grateful for every opportunity. Um, when we're in my whole career, when I've been broke down on the side of the road, I'm still grateful that I'm getting to do this and not, doing something that I wouldn't enjoy.
I believe I read Sonic Mojo debuted at #1 on
Yes,
Billboard. What was
yes,
that like? Did you call your family and just freak out and go, "Oh my gosh, we got a #1"? Like, tell me about that
absolutely.
feeling, that moment.
Well, here's the thing you got to remember. I'm the new guy in the band. This is my first record with the band.
Right.
If it sucks, they're gonna look at me and go, "Well, maybe we made a mistake." So for it to go to #1, I was like, "Aha!"
You're like, yeah, I'm here.
I
I'm
got
I'm
I got
staying a
some
little
I
bit
got
longer.
some juice, and then it stayed there for 30 some weeks, and but it's everything that we've done together when we work in the studio, because I helped them on Under the Influence, which was the record before I joined the band. We did the Earl and the Agitators project, which was a whole nother record. It was 17 songs. Um, but we've always worked so well in the studio. We don't ever have any kind of conflicts or anything. And it's always just been real natural. And the way this record came together was just so easy. I mean, it was we just played the songs. And if something wasn't working, uh, we would kind of go, "Well, what if we tried this, or what if we tried that?" And the ideas just flow, and you're just doing it. And everything about the record, I don't remember one time when we were like, we're at a dead end, or this is not going to work, or there's a couple of songs that we did that didn't make the record, but I think we'll probably circle back and dig those songs up again, and put them on something in the future, because it was just a really easy project to do.
Scott, I only have a couple more for you, and I appreciate your time. But do you have a rough timetable of when, obviously, that you're going to talk to the band about the new music that's going on up here? That could we expect this maybe summertime of next year, or when do you think a timetable of the new record would be?
I'm hoping that you know, I'm going to kind of lobby for us to start breaking ground on it in the fall, and hopefully have it out after the first of the year. I know there's some other things that we've got in the workings that'll probably come out before that. Um, but but as far as the new material, I'm hoping for, yeah, early next year. Um, we work quick, you know. I mean, it once we decide to do it and we get the material together and everybody's on board, it won't take long. But it's you know, everybody's schedule. I mean, and we work constantly. I mean, we're always on the road, so it's carving out that time to do it is kind of tricky too.
Do you have any advice for bands that may watch this that are just starting out and maybe, you know, prior to Buddy Guy or in your solo experiences, like a mistake you made or an investment in your career you made that you don't want a band just starting out to make?
I don't I don't know. I mean, whatever mistakes I've made, or you know, they got me to here, and so I don't know that I would have gotten to here if I hadn't learned those lessons.
It's
So
a good point.
that's one thing. Um, I would say if there's anything I could tell a band that's just starting out is whatever it is that excites you, whatever you believe in, whatever you're, why ever you picked the instrument up and started doing it in the first place, don't change from that. Don't think, well, if we do this, we'll have more success. Maybe you will, but then you'll also be cursed with having to do something that you don't believe in to get paid. And to me, that's the worst fate in the world for a musician. You know, write a song that you don't believe in because it's a hit, and then you have to play it every night, and you don't believe in it. That's that's horrible. You know, so stay true to yourself, and realize that the success is not, with music. The success is never measured by money or any of that stuff, because that comes and goes. You know, you can there's way easier ways to make money than being a musician.
You're a wise man. You're a wise man, sir. I think I saw on the schedule that you guys are coming to California maybe next month or the month after. Me and my wife
Yeah,
are gonna do our best to come to that show, say hello, and hang hopefully with you guys if possible. But
that would be awesome. I
I
hope you do.
I thank you so much for taking 30 minutes out of your day to do this with me, sir. It's an absolute honor. And I wish you safe travels. And we're super excited about the album coming out hopefully sometime next year. But Scott, thank you again so much for real.
Oh man, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. What does your shirt say, by the way?
Oh, it's this is good. My buddy will enjoy this. We're sponsored by somebody called My Merch Guy,
Yeah.
mymerchguy.com. They make band merch for bands all over the United States. And
All right.
if you use code LBS420, you actually get a nice little discount.
Ah, okay.
But it
All
caters
right.
to a
Well, I
lot
like
of like
that shit.
smaller bands that you know need merch at reasonable rates.
Show me the picture underneath the words. So it's a skull.
Yeah, it's
All right,
just
check
kind of
this
like a
out. You
skull
ready?
cracking thing.
You ready?
Yeah.
This is what it looks like before he loses his skin and his beard.
That's not bad. That's not bad. We're matching today, kind of.
There you go. There you go.
Scott, this was fun. I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel tomorrow, but all the blessings in the world, brother. Thank you again. We really appreciate
Hey
it.
man, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott.